Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of True Picks, where we talk about everything that happens in football, everything that's going on in the season, break down and talk about all that's happening. And of course, when I say we, I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about Chase. Oh, wait, oh, we don't have Chase with us today. Unfortunately, he is a bit busy with all the fun things that happen in his life, which he is going through some fun things when it comes to work, when it comes to his his life in general. But we are here for him, and we hope that you are here for us as always. Thank you for tuning in, and let's talk about what happened the week that was with our picks last week. I will say Chase did much better than me last week. I had I had a bit of a week there. But let's get into this. Ooh, man, a little rough there for me. Had a first week where I had more losses than wins. It was a bit of a bloody week, a bit of an upset week, depending on who you were taking. I mean, for example, that Saints and Giants game, the Saints were favored, but the line was very close. So the idea that the Saints pulled off, it did come across as a bit of an upset win. The Dolphins and Panthers, now that was a very intriguing flip. Broncos and Eagles, that also was a bit of a flip there. It is funny. The first time I actively picked the Eagles, because I did think that Denver was not going to win. They kind of shocked the world. But let's talk about this week. We have a bunch of games to get to, and luckily for us, or for me, or for you, or for everyone, we do have Chase's selections for the week. So what I'm going to do is, since we've had this happen last season, where sometimes he was a little bit busy here and there, I'm going to read out word for word what his predictions are, so that we can have the conversation. We can go a little bit back and forth, and I can give you what exactly his reasoning is for picking those teams. So let's get into it. Thursday Night Football. We've got Eagles, we've got Giants. We're coming to you live today, shortly before the game. I wanted to try to make sure we got in Thursday Night Football. But, and then of course, if it backfires on me by our selections being wrong, I'll be a little upset that I got this game in. But I'm taking the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to be bouncing back from the loss against Denver, but also they're going to be playing a bit upset. And the Giants, it is an interesting game for the Giants, home game. But what intrigues me about this is the idea of Tyrone Tracy potentially being present for the game, even if he's on a bit of a pitch count. As far as I know, he's supposed to be playing. But it is if they can get him back, it at least adds another punch to what's happening with the ground game in New York, because Cam Scotabo definitely is really great at what he does, but there's only so much that he can do by himself, right? So let's see. I think that having multiple options to throw to when Darius Slayton is ruled out is going to be beneficial for Jackson Dart. I do think it's going to be another Theo Johnson game. I did pick him up and streamed him as a tight end option in fantasy last week, which worked out very well for me. And let's see what Chase has to say. Despite the loss last week, I still like the Eagles. Giants just seem too inconsistent. Normally Thursday is a good upset game, but I got the Eagles. So he's taking the Eagles. And I have not seen, I'm reading these. What I tried to do is, so that it wouldn't influence any of my picks, I have not looked at what his selections were before we get into this. But let's move to our second game of the week, which is Broncos and Jets in London. This one is interesting to me. I don't appreciate that the line is this apart, only because I do think that the Jets have a good defense, and they have a good defense that can match up against an offense that is still finding itself. And the Broncos offense is definitely one that's still finding himself. We did see against the Eagles more Evan Engram. Welcome back, sir. Your presence was definitely missed. But it is an offense that goes into the tank for quarters on end. And then suddenly, it is one of those situations. I think I said to my wife on Sunday, or maybe it was a couple days ago, it would be beneficial for me to just not watch Denver during the first 3 quarters and then just put on the fourth quarter, because that's really the game. That's when the game happens for Denver. Either Bo turns it on and the offense clicks into high gear, or we see some dumb stuff happen and somebody kicks a field goal as time expires. But I'm going to take the Broncos. I just think that the line should be closer, because I can see a situation where the Jets sneak out of there with like a field goal win, similar to Colts and Chargers, how they picked up their wins over Denver. Let's see what Chase says. I think the Jets will get yards, but this Broncos team is one of the best complete teams in football if the offense is moving. Despite being an international game and the Broncos having some tough travel, they're a better team than the Jets. I do disagree a little bit about the travel, because they're flying to London from Philly. I think they went from Philly directly to London. I don't think they stopped. They went back to Denver, but I could be wrong there. But he's also taking the Broncos. Now let's move on to Steelers and Browns. And the Browns, which we will get to in a little bit, they made a QB change, and they put in Dylan Gabriel. And Gabriel, was able to move the ball pretty well. And he convinced the Browns that he is maybe not the quarterback of the future, but the quarterback of right now enough that they were willing to deal Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals, because Jake Browning has just been absolutely terrible as Burrow's fill-in, as Burrow recovers from his turf toe surgery. But this is still a rookie quarterback on his second start, going up against one of the better defenses in the league. And it's sort of a, you kind of feel bad for it, in the sense that you got to get those reps in. And if you're Dylan Gabriel, you might as well get them against a stalwart defense. And sure, the Browns aren't a great team in that sense, but there is a situation here where they could pull the upset. I don't think that they will, and I'm going to go with the Steelers. Let me get my mouse over there. And let me see what Chase said. Bengals, Packers, Lions, Chiefs. It looks like he did not pick this game, or he might have accidentally skipped it. So I'm going to skip it for him, but based off of what he says, I'll ask him afterwards. I have a feeling he's going Steelers, but I could also see him doing the upset of the Browns. But let's turn to a game that I for sure know he picked, with Dolphins and Chargers. Chargers and the Chargers running back, Room, and just this team in general seems to be cursed when it comes to injuries. First, Najee Harris shoots off a firework into his eyeball on July 4th, and then he makes it back. I think he did start the first game of the season, but he was on a bit of a pitch count because it's hard for him to see, and he was still learning the playbook, so to speak. But he did keep it moving, was doing well, and then he goes down on a non-contact injury when he was playing Denver, and he's done for the season. Omarion Hampton steps into the role, is sort of that RB1 that was promised, and now Omarion Hampton has an ankle injury, and he's gone on injured reserve, but it is IR boomerang, so he will be back, or at least anticipated to be back, in about 4 games. So now the Chargers are turning to Hassan Haskins. They're turning to Kamani Vidal to be the starting running back, or they're going to definitely have to go basically running back by committee. But what this does mean is that it's going to be a higher percentage of passing. They're going to have to throw more. And this was already an offense that looked as though it was anticipating throwing more. Like, they were definitely an offense that we thought was going to be run heavy, turned into a bit of a pass-heavy offense, and now we're seeing that Joe Alt is still not practicing. He wasn't practicing Wednesday or Tuesday, and not practicing today, Thursday. The odds of having Joe Alt decreasing as we move along, that's definitely going to hurt the Chargers when it comes to this game. But I don't know, man. Something just seems wrong. Something just seems wrong in Miami. I don't know what's going on there with Tua, with with Mike McDaniel. He just seems checked out of it. I know they're trying to just get back on track, and they're trying everything they can, but something about it just does not seem right. I will say, Darren Waller, welcome back, sir. Another multiple touchdown game. Yeah, I guess you just needed the change of scenery. I guess you just needed the time off. We have seen tight ends leave the New York Giants and do well for themselves. First was Evan Engram going to Jacksonville. Darren Waller, I mean, he came from the Raiders to the Giants, but hey, it worked out for him. I'm going to go with – why does this happen? There we go. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I assume that Chase is picking the Chargers, but let's read what Chase indeed said. So he's picking the Chargers, saying, I don't feel good choosing my Chargers. But what the Dolphins pulled off last week was really incredible. Dolphins have a good pass rush, so they will get to Herbert. Though I think despite that being the Chargers' weakness, I think the Chargers will have enough running game and can throw on the secondary and win this game, even come back if the Dolphins have the lead. Yeah, I agree with that pretty much completely. I am intrigued about this running game, what he's talking about the running game. I do want to see Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal. Kamani Vidal famously, well, at least in my brain, burnt the Denver defense last year during one of those games on a wheel route. So if you think of the run game from that perspective, like catching it in the backfield and taking it, then yeah, sure. Like I know that Kamani Vidal can do that. Whether he can be a consistent running back throughout the course of a full game, between him and Haskins, I really am intrigued to see. I do know that if I remember right, Haskins played for Harbaugh in Michigan. So take from that what you will. But let's move to the Saints and the Patriots. And, it's tough to pick right now against the Saints, right? Because, I mean, they took the fight to the Bills. They did what they did last week against Miami. But do we not pick the Patriots here? Like that's one of the questions, because the Patriots seem to be clicking on all cylinders. They take down the Bills in pretty stunning fashion. Drake May is looking really good. The problem is that run game. Whether or not Mike Vrabel is going to finally give the ball over to Travion Henderson, they are doing well with Ramondre Stevenson. That's the thing. It's not that Stevenson is necessarily a bad running back. It's that he's not doing great things. Like, he's not proving that he is that much of a difference maker. He is being, in essence, a serviceable running back, and that can only get you so far. Now, he also keeps coughing up the ball. Like, I think he has, on average, a one fumble per game. And Gibson, I think, went to IR. So the idea that Henderson can't get, if he can't get more work, this is a larger indictment. I don't know if it's a larger indictment on the coaching staff or if it's a larger indictment on Henderson himself, because it's a similar situation to Caleb Johnson in Pittsburgh, right? Like, if you were good enough, you should be able to get reps over at least Kenneth Gainwell versus, I understand the idea of not being able to unseat Jaylen Warren, because in Pittsburgh, they are just they want to be able to give him the chance to be the lead back after playing second fiddle to Najee Harris for years. But you should at least be able to beat out Kenneth Gainwell. Similarly, if Henderson can't, in essence, basically just become the RB2, if Gibson is no longer with the team for injury reasons, then is that an indictment on Henderson? Or is that an indictment on the coaching staff for not really preparing him and getting him ready to be that role? I'm not 100% sure there. I do know I'm going to take the Patriots though on this one. And let's see what Chase had to say. Chase, he went with Patriots. Good for Rattler getting a win, but Patriots win this game. So he's also going with the Patriots. I will say Stephon Diggs does not look as though he has any sort of issues with that ACL injury that took him out of playing for the Texans. He definitely has bounced back a lot sooner than anticipated, considering his age, considering ACL injuries. Normally, it does take a little bit more than a year, and it has, roughly speaking, been a year, because it was early on in the season that he had the ACL tear. But man, He's been looking really, really good. Now, maybe, to be certain, it is the idea of being able to beat up his old team, right? Being able to go into Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park and beat up on the Bills, because that's how the Bills got. I'm not saying it was because of Stephon Diggs, but like last year when the Texans destroyed the Buffalo Bills, Stephon Diggs was there. That's that infamous picture of them shaking hands after the game. So maybe there was something to be said. Like he went around to the locker room before the game and was like, "We got to win this one so that I can stick it to Josh again." But let's turn to a game that has almost an even script here: -112 to -104. Seahawks and Jaguars. Man. If you're the Jaguars, you gotta be really feeling yourself. Like you gotta be feeling yourself after that gutsy win against the Chiefs. Like I get it, in this day and age, a lot of people are able to beat the Chiefs, but at the same time, that it's still the Chiefs. Like it's still a quality win over an opponent, and to be able to pull that off, that's incredible. But now you've got the Seahawks coming to town, and the Seahawks are a good organization. Like they are putting up some wins. Darnold seems to have exercised a bit of the ghosts, but he does still make those boneheaded decisions. But when you've got a wide receiver like Jackson Smith-Njigba to be able to throw to, that's something that's always great to rely upon. That being said, I don't know if this is gonna I think this would have to be a bit of a heavy Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet game, because I have to imagine that you proved that you can go into a shootout with a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but you didn't prove that you could win, right? Then maybe there is something to be said for Baker Mayfield just hating everybody, except for his wife and children. I assume he doesn't hate his wife and children, but you never know. But that's a situation where he just got the ball last and he was able to get that field goal. You have to try to avoid that scenario here. The question is, do we think that the Jaguars are going to have the firepower to be able to go up against this? I don't know. I'm going to take the Seahawks, but I don't know if this is a question of the line is as close because it's just respecting the fact that the Jags beat the Chiefs, or home field advantage, or what. But let's see what happens with this one. Meanwhile, we got our first disagreement. Chase is going Jaguars. Jaguars are a good football team. Tough Monday night win proved it to me. I like the Seahawks as a team as well, but I think the Jags ride this momentum and pull off another quality win. I mean, that's fair. I completely understand the argument as to why the Jags would get this win, but I can't see the Seahawks losing that much momentum right now. You lost to Tampa Bay off of just a field goal. You went punch for punch, 38-35. That's your loss is against a playoff team. And your other loss is week one, you're working out the kinks against the 49ers, and you lose by less than a score. Every other game you've been winning. Granted, that Arizona Cardinals game could have gone either way, but I give it a little bit of divisional rub for that one. Speaking of the Cardinals, Cardinals coming to Indianapolis to try to take on Danny Dimes, Jonathan Taylor, Adonai, I dropped the ball, Mitchell, Pittman, Josh Downs. Oof. This is Tyler Warren. How to forget him? Can't forget him anymore. If defenses forget him, that's going to be a problem, because that really is living up to his Swiss Army knife moniker or nickname that people attributed to him. But this is a interesting game because you can see from the line, Vegas does not have faith in the Arizona Cardinals, and I don't really think I do either. This is, I kudos to them for finally getting Marvin Harrison Jr. More targets, and maybe there's something to build there over time. We're going into week 6, right? So maybe by week 10, week 11, it's a little bit in rhythm. But that was the point of training camp. That was the point of preseason, to do those sorts of things. And let's see what Chase has to say here. Colts got nothing to add here. Cardinals suck. So. That is, we're kind of in agreement there. I think this is also a game where we don't anticipate Kyler Murray playing. They're preparing as though I think Jacoby Brissett would be the starter, and if so, then that could be rough. Let's turn to Ravens hosting the Rams. This is another game where it looks like QB1 for the team may not be may not be available. I think is Lamar even not participating, not seen participating in practice again on Thursday. Looking like no Lamar again this week. So this is another Cooper Rush game. And if you're Cooper Rush playing against this Rams defense, good luck to you, sir. And I know Kyren Williams had that fumble, but like it's still Kyren Williams. Like he's still one of the most underrated and unheralded running backs in the entire league. Give me the Rams pretty comfortably on this one, especially like if Cooper Rush. And I feel bad for people who are Derrick Henry holders in fantasy, managers in fantasy, because like this is not what you expected. But maybe after the bye week, because I think the Ravens have the bye after this. Lamar gets that extra week of rest. He comes back after the bye week. The Ravens can hit the ground running, but like if you're the Ravens, the best. Like, you got to turn the season around coming out of the bye week. You need to stack wins so fast. Like, you need to win a game and then turn to Roger Goodell and be like, can we play again tomorrow? Because you have to get wins as quickly as possible. This is it is a kind of a do or die situation for your season because you guys are 1-4. And if predictions hold right, you're going to be 1-5. Going into the bye and coming out of the bye, it's going to be week 8 as a 1-5 team. You're hosting the Bears in week 8, but like Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze are looking like they are on fire right now. And that overall Bears offense is looking like it's moving the ball. So you can't trust your defense anymore. This Ravens defense has been getting shellacked, and they're doing things where they're trading Odafe Owe to the Chargers for I forget his first name. It starts with an A, but Gilman, he's a safety. So like they're trying to pull off like helping the secondary out because people are just throwing on the Ravens defense, which you don't expect to have happen when you have the players that you have, when you have the Kyle Hamiltons, the Malachi Starks. There's a lot to be said for not having Roquan Smith, and I don't think Roquan's coming back to this game either. Let's see what Chase had to say. He's taking the Rams. Ravens are just in hell right now. This team's secondary can't stop the common cold. Now you got to go against Puka, Devontae, and Atwell. Rams would have to lose this game because they have 6 turnovers. It's the only way the Ravens win. Taco Tay should be going crazy in this one. Let's turn to Panthers and the Cowboys. My goodness, keeps going. And the Cowboys are in a situation where I think they have the ability to take advantage of a Panthers team that is just – it's not that they're dysfunctional, the Carolina Panthers. It's that I don't know whether or not they're just getting lucky or not. Like, they catch teams at weird times. And yeah, you picked up a win over the Dolphins, who are terrible, and the Falcons. But that Falcons game, that's what I'm really talking about. There are these weird flashes where Bryce looks good and Tet is doing some great things, and this running back room is moving the ball. But now we're getting a situation where I think Chuba Hubbard is not – I think it's going to be another Rico Dowdle game. But – man, if Chuba doesn't play, Rico did very well. Don't get me wrong. And he will be extra motivated because this is the Cowboys team that he used to be on. But I don't know if this is a situation for the Panthers where they have the ability to keep up with a Dallas Cowboys passing attack that is finding its groove again. Like the first week or so, they were working out the kinks of trying to figure out what is the situation here with CeeDee Lamb being the dominant alpha wide receiver and George Pickens being the wide receiver too. Then, conveniently for everyone, not for him or for me, who has him in a dynasty league, CeeDee Lamb goes out with, I think it's a hamstring injury. And he wasn't put on IR, but they anticipate having him back, I think week 7, potentially week 8. But because of that, it kind of solves the problem of where the ball is going to go. It's going to go to George Pickens. Now, you would anticipate that could potentially hurt things because the benefit of having Pickens and CeeDee Lamb is that you don't know which one's going to get the ball. At the same time, you lose Kevontae Turpin, and Ryan Flournoy is pressed into service as wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3-ish. It just seems to work. Whether it's throwing to George Pickens, screen passes to Fergie in for a touchdown, it just seems to work. And to me, it seems as though it's going to continue to work when the Cowboys travel to the Panthers. I'm taking the Cowboys here. How do we got Chase picking this one? He's taking the Cowboys. Panthers are funny. It's like they need to be down to wake up and play good football. Cowboys have the better roster. I think they win this game in a dominant fashion. So he's also taking the Cowboys. Raiders and Titans. Oh, Jesus. To quote Bill Burr. This is... How do you pick a team here? Cam Ward sort of lucks into a win, the first win of their season, of his career. Man, it just really just pure, like quite literally dumb luck that they win that game over the Cardinals. But can you build off of that? Like, can you build off of a dumb luck win? I mean, some teams have, some teams haven't. You're going up against a Raiders team that is so, so many people, I just want to use this as my personal soapbox for a moment, but so many people had predicted that the Raiders were going to be this outstanding football team because they had acquired Geno Smith, they had Jacoby Myers, they had Brock Bowers, and they had Pete Carroll, and then they were going to draft Ashton Jeanty. And so many people thought that this team was just going to be absolutely killer. Let's look at what their record is. They beat the Patriots by a touchdown. Then they lose to the Chargers by 11. They lose to the Commanders by 17. They lose to the Bears by 1. And then they lose to the Indianapolis Colts by 34 points. In what world is this a competitive team? Like, maybe you can argue the 1-point loss to the Bears, the 1 touchdown win over the Patriots, but every other game they're getting killed. You have Geno Smith, who has never been known as a great decision maker. Good arm, right? Good mobility, good athleticism, good vision. But once he decides where the ball is going to go, it's not always the best decision. And in Seattle, he was able to lean on a run game that was a two-headed monster of Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. And here in Las Vegas, they refuse, it seems, to use Ashton Jeanty as much as they can. I don't know if I have faith in the Raiders, but I also don't know if I have faith in the Titans. This one's definitely a coin flip, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read what Chase has picked. And then whatever team Chase has picked, I'm going to pick the opposite, just so that we have a little bit more colorfulness in these selections, because he and I have been fairly lockstep, except for Jaguars and Seahawks. So let's see what Chase is picking, because to me it's a pure coin flip game. All right, where is his Titans versus Raiders? Here we go. Titans. So he's picking the Titans. So I'm going to pick the Raiders. And now I'm going to read what his argument was for the Titans. I legit flipped a coin. Okay, see? So I'm not wrong there. It is a coin flip game. I don't know what to expect from this game. Will Geno be competent, or will he throw 3 picks? What is Bryce Callahan going to call in this game? Who knows? All I know is this game should be comedy. That is true. Oh, man. Let's turn to Buccaneers and Niners. This is a battle of 2 NFC powerhouses. The Buccaneers are a powerhouse both historically in the past 4 or 5 years, as well as this season. The Niners are a bit more of a historical powerhouse, trying to get back to where they were before. But this is a fun game. I think Mac Jones is still starting, or is it? I think Mac Jones is still starting. He's got it. Feel pretty good about his health for a starter. He's likely the week 6 starter, but Brock Purdy is still the team's long-term quarterback. Well, I mean, that makes sense. Purdy's still not practicing today due to his toe injury. Mac Jones is on track to start. I know that they said Ricky Pearsall is practicing again, and he's just rule out. Oh, they're saying he won't be. So his knee working off to the side. It was Juwan Jennings who was limited. That's it. I got them confused. But they need all the help that they can get. I know George Kittle is working his way back from injury. Christian McCaffrey basically is this offense right now. Josh Tongs or Jack Tongs, as a fill-in for Kittle, has been doing well, but like it's still not George Kittle, who just has a sometimes superhuman knowledge of where to be at any given point in time on a football field. Like that's something that tight ends really like. If a quality tight end is somebody that just you can see that they know how to move around on the field once they've leaked out on their route. And somebody like George Kittle, Travis Kelce, I would say people like maybe Sam Laporta, they know how to do those things very well. Brock Bowers still seems like he's more of like the route runner, and he's using his size to mismatch against defenders, whereas he's still learning that ability to kind of be like, okay, well, I got to look back and see, quarterback's not like they're flushed out of the pocket. Let me try to break out of my route and go and see where I can get open. I think he's still learning that a little bit, but he'll get there. And once he gets there, it's going to be even more dangerous. And hopefully, it'll be a different quarterback, I think, instead of Geno Smith throwing, but that's the previous game. Here, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. I don't think that the Niners have enough. They did, surprise people on Thursday Night Football last week, but this was a game that I think Baker's just on a different level right now. And his dedication to hating everybody and anybody around him that does not wear Buccaneers colors is pretty wild. And they are saying that Mike Evans is continuing to sit out, but hopefully he's going to be back soon. I think Bucky Irving also, it's going to be another Rachaad White game. And Rachaad White proved yet again, like I said this a couple weeks ago, he is proving why it pays to have, in essence, a guy who was RB1, like had been pressed, has experience at being an RB1, be your RB2. Like that's one of the great things about Detroit is that Monty has so much experience being the RB1 that he still technically is the RB1. It is a true timeshare. It is a true 1A, 1B, but either one of them has the ability to fill that role that if anything were to happen to Gibbs, or Gibbs is like, hey, I got to take a step back. Like, we're going to pull him out for this series. Monty knows exactly what to do. And having somebody like Rachaad White, even if he's not physically the athleticism is not the same as Bucky Irving, having that knowledge, that pass pro knowledge is really, really valuable. And that's something that, for example, the Patriots are trying to get when it comes to Henderson. That's one of the knocks against Henderson. But let's see what Chase was feeling for this one. 49ers versus Buccaneers. Buccaneers. Listen, Niners will somehow be up. And in the fourth quarter, Baker magic will work again. Look up his MVP odds this year. Yeah, they're high. With a Josh Allen slip-up last week, Baker with another strong stat game could be on the rise for MVP. And I'm pretty sure that Baker was one of the guys that we were talking about when we were doing the futures episode, where we were saying that if you wanted to put money down as somebody as a cash-out option, Baker Mayfield for MVP was one of the strong options. Oh, and I know the Chase would want me to say this because we're talking about the Buccaneers, but Emeka Egbuka is now in the negatives for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So if you guys followed us on that brave journey, now might be the time to cash out, or if you want to just let it ride. Let's move to Bengals versus the Packers. Joe Flacco has the opportunity to do the funniest thing, because he was the person who handed the Packers that loss as a member of the Cleveland Browns not too long ago. And now he is traded in division to the Cincinnati Bengals because Jake Browning cannot get the job done. And now he gets a chance to beat the Packers again. And why this is funny is because I know the Packers technically have that tie on their record with Dallas, but the only loss that they have was against the Cleveland Browns, a Joe Flacco-led Cleveland Browns. So you could stand to make an argument that, hey, now Joe Flacco with way better people to throw to like, I don't know, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant, he's going to do well. But part of the reason why they were in that game was because of the Cleveland Browns defense. And I don't think anybody is here is going to say that the Bengals defense is anywhere near the Cleveland Browns defense. I feel bad for the Bengals because of the fact that this is like, it says plus 730 right there. Like, these odds are super lopsided, but I don't see a reason why you wouldn't take the Packers on this one. And let's see what Chase has to say about this. Bengals versus Packers. Packers, but he doesn't feel good about this. Well, let's see why. I think the Cowboys showed everyone the game plan of attacking the secondary of this Packers defense. I know Flacco is there now in Cincy, but he's throwing to two studs. I can see the Bengals upset, but I'm going off the Packers coming off a bye. But I won't be shocked if next week this game is in red next for him. So yeah, he's going to take the Packers as well. But like, I don't know. For me, the question is, can the Bengals defense do enough to stop the Packers offense? And that's tough. Can Flacco score on them? I believe he absolutely can. Can they stop the Packers from scoring on them? I don't know about that one. Let's turn to Sunday Night Football. It's the Chiefs, who just had Monday Night Football, and now they get another primetime game, these assholes, where they get to host the there's two. Oh, I missed that. Hold on. Yeah, so it's hosting the Lions. They're going to be hosting the Lions. And they get one primetime game. They get another primetime game. And we get to talk about this. How did I miss that? Hold on one second, guys. Did I really just completely whiff on? I did whiff on the fact that it's a doubleheader. It is a Monday night doubleheader. Give me 1 second. Let me add that in there. There we go. All right. So Chiefs, Lions. I'm taking the Lions here. Kudos to the Chiefs for trying to stay in games and whatnot, and kudos to them for fighting. But like, you're not fighting against the Jacksonville Jaguars anymore. You're fighting. I mean, it's still a cat-themed team. You're just going from the Jaguars to Lions, but this is a completely different breed of cat for a reason. And you've got an offense that is clicking again. A lot of people were trying to figure out what was going to happen with the loss of Ben Johnson, with the loss of Aaron Glenn, and the Lions had a little bit of like growing pains with these new coordinators, but they seem to be back in it, and they seem to be back where they belong as an NFC powerhouse. And this was a game that, last year people would have anticipated as a Super Bowl game, and people technically going into this season would have anticipated this to be a Super Bowl game. We now know that the Chiefs are definitely human, or at least can be beaten by Trevor Lawrence as he stumbles his way into a touchdown. But they are susceptible, and they're susceptible to good teams. I'm taking the Lions. For this one, let's see how Chase feels. He's saying the Lions, the Chiefs will hang around, though the Lions, for my money, look like one of the best teams in football. That offense is humming, and KC might have to slow down the pace and have long drives to keep this offense cold if they want to win. Yeah, it's a situation where like the Chiefs are predicated off of trying to hit these long shots with Xavier Worthy, but they're having difficulty pulling those off. And this is the last game without Rashee Rice. So I anticipate the Chiefs are going to be a completely different team in like 2 to 3 weeks once Rashee Rice is fully acclimated back to this offense, back to football speeds, back to taking hits, and so on and so forth. Well, maybe, hopefully taking hits, because it was last year's friendly fire that took him out. But I think that this is going to be a much different Chiefs offense in a couple weeks, but that's not then is not now, and now is not then. So until that happens, I'm picking against the Chiefs. That leads us to one of our Monday night games. It's the Falcons hosting the Buffalo Bills. Man, what a fun way for the Bills to take that first loss, right? Like at the expense of the Bills, the Patriots get to know that they really have kind of found that guy, right, in Drake May, and that they did a great job in signing Stephon Diggs, and that a lot of things are working out well for them. And if you're the Bills, you're like, oh, this sucks because this was one of our last home games in Highmark Stadium for the season, and then next year the new stadium is supposed to open. So you didn't end division game. You don't want to lose any spots in the division. Drop to 4-1. I think they're going to come out angry. I think they're going to come out firing on all cylinders. But this is also a Falcons team that is coming off of a bye. They are going to be rested, but can they take down Josh Allen and the Bills? I don't know. Like I don't want to say like jury's out on Michael Penix, but like, for every good game that he had, I'm still thinking about that 30-0 loss to the Panthers, where in like the second half, none of your plays took place in the opposing side of the field. Like that's concerning for me. And until you stack enough wins that we are far removed from that, it's hard for me to pick a Falcons team despite all the talent that they have. I'm going to take the Bills. Let's see what Chase had to say. He's picking the Bills. Falcons could win this game since Buffalo is just dicking around on offense. I legit don't know what Joe Brady is doing. But this should be the game for the Bills where they remind us why they're one of the best teams in football. Yeah, like if you beat the Falcons with the Falcons offense on paper that it has, like that's really good for you as like for talking about what the Bills defense is and for what the Bills offense is, because it meant you were able to kind of go punch for punch because you may need to with this Falcons offense, again, on paper. And that leads us to the second of the Monday night doubleheaders. I think I was just moving quickly when I was writing these down, but I am kind of shocked that I did not remember this one, because last year, this was one of the games of the year with Commanders and Bears. It's the first overall pick in Caleb Williams against the second overall pick in Jaden Daniels. And man, last year with the Hail Maryland, incredible, absolutely incredible. You could argue that with that Hail Mary pass, I think it was maybe, I want to say it was like week 8 or week 9. The entire complexion of the Chicago Bears season changed. Coming into that game, they were 4-2. They had just come off of a bye week. They played the Commanders in Washington or in Andover, Maryland, and they lost. And from that point on, from 4-3, they, meaning the Bears, 4-4, 4-5, 4-6, 4, they did not pick up a win again until January when they played the Packers. And if I remember right, I think the Packers were resting Jordan Love, or like they didn't play him the whole game or something like that. Or actually, no, maybe they did. Either way, you don't get another win from the end of October all the way to the beginning of January. That was week 8. I was right. Now you have a chance to exercise those demons. If you're Caleb Williams, you have the opportunity to prove the doubters wrong. Every time that he plays either the Commanders, the Patriots, to a certain extent the Falcons, to a certain extent the Vikings, and to a certain extent the Broncos, as long as those teams are all quarterbacked by the people that were selected after him in the 2024 draft, it's a litmus test, right? Like he has to really go out there and prove every single time. And that sucks. Like that is a lot of pressure to put on one person's shoulders. But that's the name of the game. Like one, he wanted to be the first overall pick. And 2, he was the first overall pick. So like the idea is that you have the talent, and you have developed that talent to be the guy. This is where you have to prove it. The Bears have been playing outstandingly, though. Rome Odunze has absolutely stepped into the role that Keenan Allen held for him in trust, right? and has done very well for it. Keenan Allen doing great work with the Chargers. Don't get me wrong. But he looked like he was on death's door against when he was in Chicago, and just got revitalized by having Justin Herbert instead. But Rome Odunze looking good. DJ Moore finally getting more touches. Cole Kmet looking good. They're starting to use Luther Burden a little bit more. We haven't seen the great, any kind of breakout game for DeAndre Swift to make us go back to saying Swift's the guy. Kyle Monunga is getting work here and there. But this is a situation where the Bears really need to win. If the Bears don't win this game, I think it says more about the Bears than it says about the Commanders, because it's just like you could have had Jaden Daniels. I'm going to take the Bears, but I can see a world where the Commanders pull this off, especially because Terry McLaurin. I don't think Terry's back. And if Terry isn't back, if the Commanders win, that is a huge indictment on the Bears as an organization, of the coaching staff, everything. Let's take a look. Chase is picking the Bears. But he doesn't feel good about the pick. The Commanders have found a nice groove as of late, but I'm riding on Bears coming off of a bye week, a long one at that, as they get to play on Monday night, and that Ben Johnson cooked something up for this game. So there you have it. Let me just check again. Let me see if I missed him saying what he thought about Steelers and Browns, Giants and Eagles, Broncos, Jets, Chargers, Dolphins, Nope. He did not send that to me. So we'll leave that one blank for him. But hopefully these other teams don't leave it blank on the scoreboard. They all get some points. Help you guys out when it comes to your fantasy teams, when it comes to your fan duels and whatever bets you guys want to put. But yeah, this is an interesting week 6 to me, because this is where I think a lot of teams are going to start to separate themselves from the pack. We've had that first month of football. And nowadays, I even ignore, for a while now, I've kind of ignored week 1 as kind of like just with the way preseason is now. But we've had that first month of football now, for sure. And I think now is when teams start to separate themselves. They really start to determine what you have in a squad. And the good teams cement themselves, the bad teams sink to the bottom. And then you're going to have that middle section, that middle tier of teams. Can they break out? Can they rise above themselves and figure things out? We shall see. But until next time, guys, I want you all to take care of yourselves and each other. I'll catch you all later. Until next time. Peace.